You know, I show you that video, which is a goofy clip from a movie called Jingle All The Way. And Jingle All The Way is basically about this rivalry between two dads trying to find the toy that is sold out for Christmas. And one of the things that I find, especially when you go, I went to Sam's Club last night. Now, we just went for grocery shopping, but let me tell you, what a terrible idea it was. Like, I nearly got run over trying to get the sample of cake as it came in the front door. I tell you, it was incredible. But it's because the people are moving every which way, and they're trying to get that perfect toy, and it's almost like a competition. It's almost like, it's kind of like that, right? Like Arnold Schwarzenegger isn't picking up store clerks, at least at Sam's Club last night he wasn't. But, I mean, you get the idea, right? You've been there. You understand, like, this quest and trying to find that perfect gift, only to be cut down or lose sight, or you just can't quite seem to close the deal and make it happen. And so all of a sudden, that peace that you have disappears. It's gone. That feeling in the pit of your stomach going, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know if it's going to happen. And maybe it's not just over a Christmas gift. Maybe just life in general. It's that feeling of, oh no, what's going to happen next? And it could be over something far more serious than just getting a Turbo Man doll. Are you searching for peace? I think it's true. I think it's just a natural human condition. We all search for peace. We are searching to find something that will bring stability, which will bring peace of mind, that will relieve the stress and the worry and the anxiety of our life so we can all just leave it behind. And we're searching for it. And my question to you is, have you found it? Did you find it when you found that perfect gift for that loved one or family member, whoever it is in your life? Did you find that peace when you found that gift? Because here's the thing about it. When you go out Christmas shopping, you find that perfect gift and you have that sense of peace. The problem is that it's temporary. The problem is that feeling that you have, that momentary just, I couldn't find a good word just to describe, So I just say, when you're all tense and everything's coming and all of a sudden you finally accomplish the goal, and everything goes, Have you found it? Have you found it yet? Because here's the thing, once you find it, next thing you know, your shoulders tense, the tension in your shoulders return, you tense up and get all tight and go, because the next thing is coming. And it's this cycle that we go through constantly of trying to find peace. It's this constant battle, but it's a losing battle. And we seem to lose it all the time. And so we turn to the things of this world to try to find that temporary relief, to try to find those ways that we relax. Maybe we do it through exercise. Maybe we do it through, people read their horoscopes nowadays. Uncertain of what is to come the next day. So what do? You read I'd say open the newspaper, but who does that anymore? You go to an online website and you find your horoscope and you'd be able to find out what's going to happen the next day, and all of a sudden you have a little bit more peace. By nature, we worry. By nature, we have anxiety over things that come, the things that we don't understand, and the things we cannot control. And so we cling on to anything that we can find some of these things, that we can find this sense of control and meaning and purpose. We search for it and we grab onto these things. But ultimately, everything this world has to offer will lead us back into stress, back into anxiety. It will fall short. The people of Israel, they had the same feelings that we do. But more so than that, they had this problem. And this problem is that they were just little itty-bitty country. And they had all these massive empires around them. And they saw empires rise and they saw empires fall. And each time an empire rose, a bigger and more scarier one would come in and conquer them. And there was this constant threat of being taken over, of being conquered. Can you imagine what that'd be like to live under a constant fear of going to war. It is something that is beyond us here in the United States. It is something that we don't even think of. The craziness of it is that we live in a country where our military is completely volunteer. What a wonderful thing. We don't worry about a country. We don't worry about the Canadians coming down to attack us, right? We just don't. They're too nice. But I mean, they'd sit there and be like, hey, throw down your rifles, right? Like, it would never happen, right? But I'm just saying, though, we don't live under this constant fear and this constant stress and this constant worry about being conquered by another nation. About a year and a half ago, I don't know if you remember, there was missiles being shot by North Korea. And I remember waking up one morning going, I'm waiting for the day where the United States declares war. And for a brief 3-week period, I had that feeling. I had that fear. I had that nervous feeling. Had that fear of the 18-year-olds and 19-year-old young men that I knew in my life might be called up and drafted. Can you imagine what it would be like living in a state of fear like that all the time, not knowing what was going to happen, not knowing what was going to come? And the people of Israel were afraid. They were worried. They were nervous. And so they trusted their kings. And so they put their faith in the kings. And at this point in time, when Isaiah writes these words, the kingdom is divided. It was unified under David and then Solomon, and then ultimately after Solomon dies, it breaks apart. 10 tribes of the north, they go and they become Israel, and then you have Judah. And so Isaiah shows up and he prophesies to Judah. And so he's prophesying to Judah, but he's going to tell about what's going to happen to Israel and Judah. And see, the problem is that this trust, this fear, this constant worry, where the people were called to rely on God, they didn't. Instead, the leaders and the kings, they would make all these political maneuvers in the nations around them. They would barter truces with some of their neighbors as a result. And so the enemy of my enemy is my best friend, right? And so all of a sudden, when God said, stay away from these people, do not intermarry with these people because they will lead you into temptation and lead you away from me. So do not do this. And so as a result, the kings stopped trusting in God. And ultimately, they made these political marriages. And when these women would come from different countries, they would bring with them idol worship and idolatry. And so as a result, this idolatry then filtered its way into the common people. And as a result, in the days of King Ahaz of Judah, there was sacrifices to idol. There was no trust in God. They were guilty of what the Bible calls abomination. There was child sacrifices, and they were no different from the tribes of the north. They had left God. They had sought peace, and it cost them everything. And so Isaiah is called by God to prophesy and basically point to the future as to what was going to happen. And what was going to happen wasn't good news. In fact, it was anything but. It was bad news. But throughout this, Isaiah leads and weaves hope in the midst of it. And try to give a clear picture as to what was going to happen. Because these people had put their idea and hope of peace into something else. And as a result, it went away. How many of us have put our peace into something else? That we have trusted something to give us peace. And ultimately has led us away and has let everything just fall flat. One of the hard things is sometimes we put our faith in other people. We put our trust in other people to give us peace. But what happens when that person no longer gives us peace? Relationships end. And so here we have a prophet who is laying out the problems that they are facing. To accomplish peace, we do things that make us feel in control. You know, I read something earlier this week, and it was very hard to read. There's a political comedian. Her name is Michelle Wolf. And she basically joked about having an abortion. And she said this. She said, it basically said that it basically made her feel like God. And this is a quote from her. It says, "You know how my abortion made me feel? Very powerful. You know how people say you can't play God? Well, I walked out of there like, move over, Morgan Freeman. I am God." But how many of us, that's an extreme example of it, but how many of us do the same thing? Because that's what the original temptation is, right? We want to take control of our lives. We want to take control and basically say we're in charge, and as a result, we have no peace. As a result, we have no trust. We have no trust. We don't know what's going to happen next. And ultimately, we walk around playing God in our own lives, trying to control everything. The least of these, the meek, will inherit the earth. But yet, for some reason, we never seem to grasp that and understand that. But Isaiah prophesies and leaves behind the hope of which we could have. Follow along with me as I read from Isaiah chapter 11, starting in verse 1. "There shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Jesse. A branch from his roots shall bear fruit." Before I go on, let me stop right there for a second. What Isaiah has been doing is he's been talking about how there's these mighty forests. And basically they are supposed to symbolize Isaiah and Judah, these two countries. And of this, what he's going to say is that basically a woodsman's going to come through and he's just going to cut everything down. He's going to burn it. He's going to scorch it. He's going to lay waste. This forest is going to be gone. And what is going to remain is a stump. Now here's the thing about a stump. And if you've ever cut down a tree before, you understand this. Is that you could take one of the biggest and most mighty trees and you could cut it down. But if you leave the stump, it will regrow. It will come back. It will look completely different, but it's still there. And so he's using this symbolism in this illustration to say that there is this stump, that even though all of Israel and Judah are going to be wiped out, and we'll kind of go into a little bit more detail here in a second what that's going to look like, that there is going to be this stump. This stump is going to remain. And that my promise, the promise that God made to his people, is that from David, from this line of Jesse, David's father, would come this person. And this person will bear fruit. Verse 2. "And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, and the wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. And the delight shall be in the fear of the Lord. He shall not judge what his eyes see, or decide disputes by what his ears hear. But the righteous shall judge the poor, but with righteousness he shall judge the poor and decide with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked. The righteous shall be like the belt of his waist, and the faithfulness the belt of his loins." Let me stop right there for a second. What Isaiah is trying to describe here, in the face of this coming judgment and destruction of these two countries, in which that they have all this turmoil and they have no peace, and basically Isaiah comes and says, not only are you not going to have any peace, but quite literally you are going to be conquered and you are going to be carried off into exile. However, God is going to keep his promise. And he is going to bring about this person, this promised man, this Messiah who is going to come, born of the Davidic line, born of David, David's family heritage here. And he is going to have some amazing characteristics. And what these characteristics are going to look like are going to look like no king before this time. And what is he going to look like? Verse 2, he will delight in the fear of the Lord, and he shall not judge by what his eyes see, or decide disputes by what his ears hear. Think about that. As you go through life, how do you decide disputes? When things arise, maybe you're like me and you like to collect the facts. Maybe you just like to yell, and so you still be like me. But the point being is this, though, right? Is you try to gather the facts. You try to be able to feel out and gain judgment as to what is supposed to be the case, what is supposed to happen. And so what we do is we kind of weigh things out. And here we have this man whose mind is wise and understands people and things. And it's not, his wisdom does not come from men's knowledge. He doesn't rely on what his eyes see. He doesn't rely on what his ears hear like you and I would. But rather, it's by righteousness that he shall judge. And not only shall he judge, but he will see and understand what should happen over the course of life. He doesn't see someone as not having enough money, and so therefore, why would I side with that person? Instead, he would value the poor. Not only would he look at someone and see someone who isn't powerful or strong, but rather see the characteristics of the heart and what is important. And so we see these characteristics. He has a mind that is wise and understands people. He has a mind that gives good advice, and he has the authority to back it up. He has a mind that knows about the Lord and respects him. He respects the Lord. He follows the Lord. And not only that, but he is fair and he is just. There's not a lot of that nowadays, is there? There's not a lot of justice. There's not a lot of wisdom and knowledge. So often and so constantly, we are seeking and searching, and we're looking for something or someone, and ultimately what we see are the leaders of this world that are constantly failing us, constantly falling short of our expectations and our hope that we place in them. So who is this man? Who is this person that Isaiah speaks of? This person that we can hope to have. Can you imagine a politician who actually did these things? Can you imagine a politician that was wise? Insert your laugh here. That understands people? Insert your laugh here. Can you imagine a politician who gave good advice? Can you imagine a politician that knew the Lord and respected him? I couldn't wait. I mean, I constantly see some people who I think I can put some faith and trust in, but ultimately they all fall short. So I couldn't wait for someone like this to come. And the fact of the matter is that person has already come. Luke chapter 4, verse 18. I'll turn to it for you, and I'll read it. If you have it, that's great. What Luke chapter 4 is Jesus citing Isaiah 61. And Isaiah 61 is basically a restatement of Isaiah chapter 11. Luke chapter 4, verse 18 says this: "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to proclaim the good news to the poor." This anointed person, this person who has all these characteristics, this person who has it is Jesus Christ. He's already come. Verse 6, follow along with me. What is he going to do? He's going to do something incredible. Verse 6, "And the wolf shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the young goat, and the calf and the lion and the fatted calf together, and a little child shall lead them. And the cow and the bear shall graze, their young shall lie down together. And the lion shall eat straw like an ox, and the nursing child shall play over the hole of the cobra, and weaned child shall put his hand in the adder's den. They shall not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the earth. Do you catch that? Do you catch what Isaiah is saying about what the future is going to look like? Now, one of the things that we've talked about in my family is we want to get chickens. I actually have chickens in the backyard. How great it would be to get eggs. We think it would be wonderful. We think the kids would actually get eggs for at least a week before they forgot about them. But here's the thing about chickens. Now there is a law that was passed last year that basically said that no matter what subdivision you live in, you can have chickens. And so I've wanted to get chickens. The problem is that there's the, Lion King logic here, the circle of life, right? Chickens get eaten. I have 2 dogs. I have a dog in particular who already likes to get birds. Now she's gotten old and fat, but a chicken is pretty slow. And so all I can imagine is my family goes, we want baby chicks. We want to get these baby chicks. We want to get these chickens. All I can see is that dumb yellow dog walking into the house with a chicken going, look what I did. And then, there's tears, there's weeping, the circle of life, right? It's kind of expected. It's the nature of things. But this is how great God is. He is going to change the very fabric of our world, the very nature of animals. Think about all these animals, these predators. These are things that eat things. All of a sudden, a lion eating straw, I would pay to see that. That would be something, right? The wolf shall dwell with the lamb. I won't even let my dogs near a chicken, I'm saying, this doesn't make any sense. This seems impossible. This seems just like hyperbole. It seems like just Isaiah is just talking about, this is going to happen. And for us in our scientific Western thinking philosophy here of understanding the world, we put science into it and saying there is no way that can possibly happen. A lion cannot exist on vegetables. A wolf cannot exist on eating grass. I don't know about you, but I'm not a fan of snakes. Nor would I let my kids play in a snake den. I'm just saying, it just seems like a bad idea. When I was out in West Texas, there's not really much out there except some cotton fields and rattlesnakes. And here's the thing about rattlesnakes. People catch them. I don't know why they do. And then what they do is they call roundups, because the goal is to try to control the population of rattlesnakes. And so I went to Sweetwater's rattlesnake roundup. It is the biggest rattlesnake roundup in the world. I don't know how many other rattlesnake roundups there actually are, but we went to one. And I was watching these they were all men, because apparently we're the only dumb ones. The women were smart enough to stay out and away from catching the snakes. And so watching these men doing demonstrations about understanding snakes. And so I couldn't find the picture for the sermon purposes here, but I have a picture of a man holding a rattlesnake and placing it around Aaron's neck. Now, Aaron is not a fan of snakes. And you can see that even though this man who understands how to handle snakes completely has the snake completely in control, Erin has this nervous, terrified smile on her face, right? Like, I'm smiling for this picture, but after this is over, Mike, why did you do this to me? it seems, as I tell you the story, you're sitting there going, what's wrong with you, Pastor Mike? Like, why would you do that to your wife? But this is the world that is going to come. I think naturally we're all born with a fear of snakes. I'm not saying like, run away in the opposite direction, but a healthy kind of like, there's a snake, it's going to stay over there, I'm going to stay over here, we're all going to be happy. But the nature of this world is going to be completely undone. It is going to be completely transformed. This is what Jesus Christ is doing. And I want to use that "is doing" because there is something else to come. Isaiah will go on and talk about this new Jerusalem. And we know that as the return of Jesus Christ. Not only is going to come, but he is going to come back and come again. And he is going to bring about a peace that by the very nature of things is going to be transformed. And it seems like it's impossible. It seems like it's not going to happen. But this is easy to change the nature of the world. Because God is not someone who does the easy stuff first and the hard stuff second. God rather address the most pressing and dire matter in this entire world, which was the condition of the human heart. In particular, with the people of Judah and the people of Israel, who had wayward hearts that kept searching for peace in all the wrong places. And here you have this promise, this perfect harmony, this perfect world that is going to come, this utopia in which we can experience peace and we don't have to worry about lions and wolves. We don't have to worry about any of these things that these predators are going to lay down with the prey, and everything is going to be in union, because there was a bigger problem than just the disunion of the world here between prey and predator, but rather God and man and the condition of sin. It is far more difficult to change the heart of a person than it is to make a lion lay down with a lamb. And so this is what the Messiah does. Verse 10. In that day, the root of Jesse, who shall stand as a signal for the people, and of him shall the nations inquire, and his resting place shall be glorious. Someday, there is rest to come. There is going to be a new heaven and a new earth. And that is something that we should look forward to. In this time of Christmas, in this time where we celebrate Jesus, what we should be looking towards and what we should be celebrating is not finding the perfect gift and having that temporary moment of peace. Because by 3 p.m. on December 25th, there is going to be what's called the Christmas lull, or the Christmas blues will set in, where basically all the expectations, everything just comes to an end, and then there's like a mild depression that will set in. Trust me, you'll feel it. You'll understand when we get there. But the point is this, is that there is peace, and there is a peace to come. But what do we do in the meantime? In the meantime, Jesus has already come. He has already been born, and he has already given us peace. But again, peace is not from here. It is an external force that comes in. I don't know what you are going through. I don't know what it is that keeps you up at night. I don't know what it is that causes your heart to palpitate, that keep your eyes from shutting, that makes you toss and turn in the middle of the night. I don't know what it is that you spend so much of your mental power thinking about over and over and over again as to what is going to happen. But this is what I want to tell you, is that peace can be found. Peace doesn't come from a financial windfall. It doesn't come from hitting the lottery. It doesn't come from finding that perfect gift. It doesn't come from getting a new job. It doesn't come from any of these things. It doesn't come from getting a new house or finding. It comes from Jesus Christ. A world where a lion lays down with a lamb and a child leads them out together. Sounds like a pretty awesome one. If you want peace, Jesus Christ gives you that peace. But that peace comes from inviting him into your heart. And that peace comes from constantly going back to him on a daily basis. Stop trying to be the God of your world. And start being a servant and subject to the God of the universe. You see, what's going to happen is there's going to be a kingdom. There's a kingdom that is going to come. And the church here that we know today is an expression of that kingdom to come. And when that kingdom comes, what we're going to see is something incredible. But in the meantime, what we have here is a group of people. We have a people who understand and worship God, and as a result, the peace that he gives to us, that he desires for us. So cast your burdens upon the Lord. Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. It's a beautiful verse. I'll close with this. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your weary souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. There is peace to be found. A burden can be lifted, but it comes from taking off your own yoke and taking on Jesus Christ. That is where peace is found. It's taking on your own yoke. Sorry, taking off your own yoke and putting on the yoke of Jesus Christ. You can try to control everything, and what you'll find is that you'll constantly have no peace. But if you want a peace that lasts, a peace that is eternal, a peace for a future that is to come, that is the hope we have in Jesus Christ, the shoot of Jesse. If you don't know Jesus and you've never made a commitment to follow him, if you've never been baptized as a believer, maybe today is the day that you say, you know what? I need this peace. Maybe you have experienced Jesus Christ and you were baptized as a believer, but you've gotten away from him because you've been trying to play God in your own life, and you realize that you've gone the wrong direction, and you need to come back under him and submit to him and lift and see him as the king of your life. You can come down, you can pray with me, you can pray at the altar. Respond. Don't let another day go by, but rather worship him as Christ the King. And what you'll experience is a light yoke and rest and peace.